Hi, Steve Cassidy here. I want to talk today a little bit about a pattern of implementation for web applications that handle forms. And it's the post redirect get pattern, which describes the kinds of requests and responses that we use to handle the form. I'm going to work up to it, and I'm going to show a little web application that I've written here which doesn't use that pattern, and then we'll transform it into one that does. So this is a little web application that is implementing this likes applications, basically similar to the one that's in the notes. I've separated out the database code, so it uses the model view controller kind of pattern that we looked at before. And so I have a model file here, and this one uses the comp249db class, which is in the notes, and then we have a create tables, which makes a single table called likes with one thing in it. Then we have a procedure called store like, and that takes a like and puts it in the database, and a get likes, which gives me a list of all of the likes in the database. So that's fairly simple. And then in my application, I've got a main handler here for the root page, and that basically makes a little dictionary here and gets the likes from the database, from the model, and then sends that into the template here. And that template is just going to have a for loop here. So if we've got some likes, then we're going to list them. These are the likes that we have. And then we have a form here, and the action is set to /likes, and that will be processed by this handler here. So when we get a post request for /likes, then we're going to again make a database connection. We're going to get the like from the form field, and if that's there, we're going to store it, and then we're going to build our page again in the same way that we did in the index page. We're going to use the likes, send it to the template, and return the response. So let's run this and see if it works. Okay, so this is our basic page, and we can see, if let's move up, we can see the requests as they come in. I like cheese, and there is the post request to likes, and I like beer, and we see the list growing like that. Okay, so that seems to work okay, and we're getting post requests, and we're getting our page back, and so on. One thing I'll point out though is we can use this page, but what if I were to refresh this page? If I do a reload this page, a reload tells the browser you want to make essentially the previous request again, but the previous request was a post request that's sending the data into the server. And so here we're being asked to confirm form resubmission, and it does warn us that any action that we take will be repeated, but we don't read instructions like that, and so it's made the same request again, and then we've got elephants again twice. So maybe that's a bug in the application, because I didn't fill in elephants in the form. It just looks a bit odd. You see here the URL that I'm on here is /likes, and if I go back to the root page, it's the root, and that gives us the other one. So that's a little bit messy, the fact that that repost gets happening there, and so it'd be good to sort of try and avoid that if possible. So I'll stop the application, and let's have a look at what we might do. So the other thing that we can notice here in looking at the code is that we actually have repeated code in the application. So I've got a little bit of code here that generates that page, and I've just copied and pasted it, repeated it there, because I want the same page to appear. Well, repeated code is not a good idea in general in software. If we're going to do the same thing with exactly the same code, we should make it into a procedure. So I could make that into a procedure and call it in each of these procedures, but in fact there's a better way. The better way is, instead of so what I'm going to do is take out this instance of that piece of code. Now what I have in the handler here is a bit of code that does the work that it's supposed to do. It says, is there a like in there? Yes, I'll store it. And then what we're going to do in response, in terms of returning a response, is instead of actually returning a whole page, the effect that we want is that we want the most recent list of things to be displayed. Most recent list of things, well, we know we have a page that does that, which is this index page. Now you might think, oh, what I'll do is I'll call this index page. I could do that, so that will return index, so it'll come up here and it'll make the database connection and do that. Well, that would actually work as well, but it's not quite the right thing to do. Again, we would still have that problem, as if I reloaded that page, I would get that resubmission. So instead of calling this procedure inside my code, what I'm going to do is instead I'm going to return a response to the browser that says, okay, that was good, we did what you wanted to do, but please can you go and look somewhere else to find the result. And we're going to basically send them back to the root page. And we do that with a redirect response. And I need to add redirect to the list of imports I get from Bottle. So redirect is another procedure provided by Bottle that regenerates a redirect response. We'll have a look at that in the browser. So now I've got a pattern which says I get the home page that has a form in it. The form gets submitted with a post request to this handler here. That does the work, and then it just does a redirect back to the home page. That redirect is returned to the browser. The browser says, okay, I'll go get that home page, and it goes and calls, sends another request which is handled here, and that generates the final page. So let's see that working. Let's have a look. So here we are at the home page. We can refresh that. The database has been emptied out again, and so we have our first GET request that issues there. Now I'm going to have a look at the browser tools, so the developer tools here. And I want to see everything, so let's put that over there. Okay, so this is going to give me the network activity. So what I like is cheese, and I'm going to submit. Whoa, lots of stuff. So lots of stuff comes from various plugins that I have from Chrome, but the stuff we're interested in here, we see post at the top. So here is a post request, and view this. So there's the post / likes, and the form data likes cheese. There's the coded version of it. So there's the request going through, and the response that comes back is the response headers. View the source, we can see that it is a HTTP 1.0.303 see other. 303 is a redirect response. Let's have a look. What it means. HTTP 303 is a see other, is a way to redirect web applications to a new URI, particularly after an HTTP post. So it's almost invented for that reason. So a 303 see other basically says go somewhere else. Now where to go is this location here. That's the URL that we told it. We said just /, but it's been expanded to that full URL. And so the browser immediately gets that. It says, okay, I will. And it will then issue a second request all by itself for that URL. That's 127.0.0.1. That's localhost, which is where I am here. And so then we get that, and the request here that we see is a GET request for / and all the other stuff, and the response that we get is this one, and then the response is the filled out page that has cheese in it. Now if I were to refresh this page to reload, I'm just reloading the home page. I'm not reissuing the post. Let's do it again. Clear that, do that, and what else do I like? I like beer, and we see there the two requests, the like, which is the post, and the get, which is the second version. All this other stuff is, as I say, stuff to do with my browser. Okay, so there we have our pattern. We can see the request coming through here. It's a very, very common pattern, and pretty much you should use that whenever you are handling a form submission with a post request. You don't return actual content as a result of the post request. You return a redirect to the place where that the user will expect to see that updated information. And that can vary. So in this case, it's the root URL, but it might be the list of likes page or the user login page or something like that. Okay, so that's a little example of a design pattern for web applications.